Here's the translation into American English without punctuation. You never took me seriously. Father's laughter cut across the dining table like a knife, and I let those words fall behind his laughter. I ate the leftover meat patty. Kyle picked up an envelope, and the whole family clapped for him. Mother's gaze swept over me but did not linger on my face more than 2 seconds. I stood in the corner of the kitchen hearing my father say, "Jordan, don't think so far ahead." Kyle held up the check like a symbol of victory, all eyes following him. I sat down with my own plate, a sense of unspeakable resentment in my chest. Mother patted my hand in a pitying tone as if I were a little dog who had done something wrong. That night I returned to my third-floor apartment, the hallway light as cold as my mood. Neighbors' drums downstairs tapped against the night, playing the rhythm of the times I was ignored. I had created value at school, but he only called me handy. Father bought Kyle a new computer and a Disney trip as reward for swimming awards. I saved every penny for a possible future. Lisa told me over the phone the appraisal and loan for the first property were fine. I buried myself in study and calculations at night, reviewing investment return sheets. Patricia pushed me for loan documents, her voice professionally calm. After submitting the offer, the world grew suddenly quiet, so quiet I could hear my heartbeat. Margaret pushed a stack of documents in front of me, the friction of paper loud in the room. I left the closing with 2 keys trembling like metals in my hands. Devin exclaimed on the phone, my voice carrying a strange pride. I visited the staggered duplex for the first time, weeds like long neglected secrets. Maria peeked from the door and accepted the new unfamiliar name Jordan with a smile. I fixed pipes and lights, soil and sweat staining my sleeves the color of action. The toolbox hitting drowned out echoes of childhood mockery. I calculated cash flow deep into the night, trying to turn every expense into future security. Kyle announced at a family gathering he would soon move into a new house, the table full of congratulatory tones. I hit send on my phone, not tossing my joy into the family group chat. Mother said in the kitchen, "If you want to go back to school, we can help a little." I swallowed all my words, folding the phrase "I'm already doing it" into my chest. Father sipped iced tea at the table as if reviewing a scorecard he had written long ago. Looking at the first property maintenance list, I found more work than I imagined. Frank planted flowers in the yard. The consistently on-time tenant became my best management reason. I bought a property over budget, the roof like an old stubborn injury needing repair. Lisa reminded me of risks and costs professionally, but praised the numbers as sound. Devin and I cleared out the trash pile, the wheelbarrow full of previous neglect. He laughed, moving it, saying my work looked crazy and genius at the same time. I bought furniture, assembled beds, installed every light for the short-term rental. When the photos went online, bookings flooded and I saw income flowing for the first time. I organized every account in Excel as carefully as a doctor examining a patient. Father and Kyle still complained about mortgage stress, the house always filled with financial anxiety. I put dinner aside to see properties being busy, my shield against disturbance. Mother silently watched my departing back from the sofa, guilt unspoken in her eyes. I knew they wanted to label me content and comfortable. Kyle, half-joking, said at a family gathering, "Jordan, maybe consider a better apartment." I didn't argue, I just smiled, took the plate, and walked off, hiding my pride in my sleeve. Michelle met me at a cafe, her notebook noting young investor without family support. In the interview, I explained my methods, my learning curve, and every hard-earned down payment. She turned my words into a headline, putting private victory under public scrutiny. I pressed publish, knowing this would mark a watershed between me and them. After the article, the family chat exploded. Father's first message, "Jordan, call me immediately." I did not call back. I stood on the porch listening to the wind, like waiting for an ending. Mother's voice trembled on the phone, "Why didn't you tell us? We would have helped." I put the phone down, dusk outside like evidence being observed. Kyle sent a string of question marks, disbelief before congratulations. I didn't respond immediately, choosing Sunday to return to the dining table. Father sat at the head of the table, his gaze a mix of shock and belated scrutiny. I spread accounts, contracts, leases across the table, letting silence speak for me. Mother's hand shook. She tried to speak several times and swallowed the words back. I took them to see the first property. Maria hugged me at the door, eyes sincere with thanks. Kyle stood on the grass, forced to see my actual labor for the first time. I showed them the second property, roof repaired beyond my budget. Frank waved, smiling, saying I fixed it like family. Father stood in the corner, quietly recalculating every overlooked detail. I showed photos of the third short-term rental. Jessica brushed the bed softly, saying this is really beautiful. Amanda's eyes surprised Kyle's face like clouds, shifting light and shadow. I sat with my father in a cafe, winter wind turning our breaths white. He lowered his head, admitting his fault. He admitted judging me by achievement and ignoring my silent effort. I did not mock his regret with victory, instead turned understanding into a higher threshold. Mother apologized, tears welling. She said she always thought I was simply independent too long. Listening to their confessions, I redrew boundaries between public and private. Kyle whispered sorry at the table, a mix of unease and relief. I handed them the keys like passing history to people who needed to recognize it anew. The atmosphere at home washed, but old traces would take time to smooth. I did not loudly proclaim my victory, instead calmly stated I will no longer be treated as insignificant. Father nodded, eyes full of unspoken guilt. We are willing to start over. I accepted the new beginning, telling them future relationship must be based on equality and respect. Mother held my hand, her voice resolved, not returning to the past. I returned to my investments, continuing to expand, turning every income into new opportunity. Devin drove, moving new furniture, discussing feasibility of next goals. I shared photos of the fifth property on social media, first-time comments calling me legendary. Father commented, proud of you. Mother followed with a heart. At that moment I felt unprecedented release, like turning long-stored resentment into fuel for dialogue. Kyle said on the phone he wanted to learn investing. I sent basic book lists and community resources. I did not seek revenge to destroy, but let facts make them face their misjudgment. Father at a cafe by the window said, you made us admit our mistake with action. I watched the sky darken slowly, no great joy, no sorrow. Mother held my hand again at the table. We will do better. I nodded, knowing many proofs remain to deliver, a process I am willing to endure. Family expressions shifted from awkward to remorseful, the regret real yet powerless. I inserted the key into the lock, hearing the click like the end of an era and the start of a new chapter. The cold metal reminded me this was not the end of revenge, but a rebuilding after being seen.